Here's something that might surprise you. The US gets about 60% of its imported oil from Canada. That's over 4 million barrels of oil every day. So, even though we hear a lot about the US trying to rely more on its own energy, Canada's oil is still really important for things like the gas you pump into your car and the heat in your home. If anything messes with that oil flow, like the trade tensions we're seeing now, it could mean higher gas prices or even more expensive heating bills. And that's just the start. Stick with us, because what's going on between the US and Canada right now could end up affecting your everyday life in ways you don't expect. Chapter 1. The deepening economic bond. US and Canada's oil trade relationship. The energy trade between the US and Canada is a cornerstone of both nations' economies. As of 2023, Canada is the largest foreign supplier of oil to the United States, providing approximately 60% of all US crude oil imports, which equates to about 4.1 million barrels per day. This oil is crucial for maintaining the US's daily energy needs, as a significant portion of US refining capacity is configured to handle heavy crude oils, such as those imported from Canada. Notably, more than 70% of US refining capacity is designed to process heavier grades of crude oil. For the average American, this dependency on Canadian oil directly impacts their gas prices and energy costs. If there were a disruption in this supply, fuel prices could rise significantly up to $0.30 per gallon, as seen in past disruptions from geopolitical tensions. The reliability of Canadian oil ensures stable energy prices, which are essential for daily commuting, business operations, and household budgets across the US. This also stabilizes job markets, especially in the transportation sector, where companies rely on affordable fuel to maintain operations. Chapter 2. The Keystone-Fordale Pipeline Controversy. The proposed Keystone-Fordale pipeline would have transported 830,000 barrels of oil per day from Alberta to US refineries, impacting everything from fuel prices to job creation. The pipeline was expected to support about 42,000 US jobs during construction, which would directly impact communities in states like Nebraska and South Dakota. These jobs, spanning construction, logistics, and operations, represent not just employment numbers, but real people who depend on steady income for their families. For everyday citizens, the cancellation of Keystone 12 meant potentially higher oil prices. Experts estimated that without the pipeline, the US could see an increase of up to 10% in fuel costs due to less efficient oil transportation. Additionally, the loss of jobs linked to the pipeline's construction could mean higher unemployment rates in those areas. For consumers, the rising cost of oil indirectly raises costs for goods and services, as businesses that rely on transportation and fuel are forced to increase their prices to maintain profitability. Chapter 3. The impact of tariffs on trade and industry. In 2023, the US imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian goods, impacting industries from agriculture to automotive. Canada, in turn, retaliated with tariffs on $30 billion worth of US goods, including beef, pork, dairy, and automotive parts. These tariffs have led to increased prices for Canadian imports, which affect both businesses and consumers. For example, everyday consumers could see grocery prices rise by 5–10% as key items, like dairy, meats, and vegetables face higher import costs. For those in the automotive sector, where Canada supplies 10% of auto parts to the US, car prices could increase by $1,000 to $3,000 for certain models. This could particularly impact families looking to purchase new vehicles. Consumers may also experience delays in receiving products due to supply chain disruptions caused by tariffs. The ripple effect of these tariff wars extends to consumers who are looking for affordable goods, as the tariffs increase the overall cost of living. Chapter 4. The trade deficit and its implications. The US continues to run a trade deficit with Canada, importing $412.7 billion in goods, while exporting $349.4 billion. This imbalance, largely driven by oil imports, is a direct reflection of the US's reliance on Canadian oil. Canada exports 4.1 million barrels of crude oil per day to the US, making up a significant portion of America's energy consumption. For the average American, this trade deficit translates into higher energy prices if the relationship were to be disrupted. Without Canadian oil, the US would need to source oil from more expensive markets, like the Middle East or Latin America, leading to higher fuel and heating costs. Over time, this could add hundreds of dollars annually to household energy bills. Moreover, the trade deficit has broader economic implications, as disruptions to trade could lead to job losses in industries like manufacturing and transportation, where Canadian goods and parts are crucial to the supply chain. Chapter 5. Canada's role in the global critical minerals. market. As a global supplier of critical minerals like lithium, nickel, and rare earth metals, Canada's role is growing as the world transitions to green energy. In 2023, Canada produced approximately 3,400 metric tons of lithium and 132,400 metric tons of nickel, minerals essential for electric vehicle, EV batteries, and renewable energy technologies. For the average American, this growing dependence on Canadian minerals means that the price of electric vehicles could drop by up to $5 over the next decade as Canadian minerals become a more stable source. This would make EVs more affordable and accessible for average consumers. Furthermore, the availability of Canadian critical minerals would also support the growth of renewable energy projects, such as solar and wind farms, that help lower energy bills for households across the U.S. The shift toward green energy and clean technologies will ultimately impact consumers' daily lives, lowering energy costs and contributing to environmental sustainability. Chapter 6. The political implications, U.S. statehood for Canada. While the idea of Canada becoming the 50th honest state has never gained substantial traction, the political implications of such a proposal are worth considering. A 2024 poll showed that only 13% of Canadians supported this idea, with a massive 82% rejecting it. Had it occurred, the integration of Canadian policies, such as healthcare, education, and energy systems, into the U.S. would have significantly impacted everyday life. For instance, the Canadian healthcare system is widely praised for its affordability and universal coverage. If Canada became a U.S. state, Americans might see a reduction in healthcare costs, which are among the highest in the world. Canadian citizens enjoy free healthcare, and if those benefits were integrated, it could lower medical costs for millions of Americans. However, the loss of Canadian cultural and political autonomy would have profound effects on its citizens' daily lives, from taxes to social services. The U.S. economy would also face significant challenges as it adjusted to Canada's political system, and the cultural differences would require years of integration. Chapter 7. The future of U.S.-Canada relations. Looking ahead, the relationship between the U.S. and Canada will continue to evolve, with both nations dealing with energy trade, tariffs, and geopolitical challenges. If the energy trade continues to grow, particularly in green energy technologies, the cost of electricity and fuel could stabilize, benefiting households across North America. However, the future of the oil trade remains uncertain. If Canada's oil sands are phased out for environmental reasons, the U.S. would have to look for alternative, potentially more expensive sources of crude. In practical terms, this shift could mean higher gas prices for drivers, particularly in areas reliant on oil imports from Canada. On the other hand, the U.S. could also see lower electricity bills as renewable energy projects, supported by Canadian minerals, become more common. The transition to cleaner energy will also lead to more job opportunities in the green tech sector, which could help mitigate some of the economic impact of energy price fluctuations. In conclusion, the relationship between the U.S. and Canada is more than just a trade partnership. It is a crucial pillar supporting the economic, political, and social fabric of both nations. From energy trade to the flow of critical minerals, the ties between these two countries have deep and far-reaching effects on everyday life, whether it's at the gas pump, in job markets, or in the adoption of clean energy technologies. As we've seen, changes in trade policies, such as tariffs or disruptions in the oil supply, can directly impact household expenses, fuel costs, and even the job market, while the growth of green technologies promises both challenges and opportunities for consumers in the years ahead. Looking forward, it's clear that maintaining a strong, stable, and cooperative relationship will be vital for both nations. For the U.S., continued reliance on Canadian oil and minerals will be essential in securing a reliable energy future, while Canada stands to benefit from closer integration in the green energy and critical minerals sectors. As these nations navigate economic, environmental, and political challenges, the choices made today will shape the future lives of millions of people across North America. Ultimately, understanding these dynamics will be key to preparing for the changes that lie ahead, ensuring a future where both nations thrive in an increasingly interconnected world. The world now stands at a crossroads. The decisions made today by governments, corporations, and global policymakers will determine whether this trade war propels economies towards self-sufficiency or drags them into prolonged volatility. One thing is certain: this trade war is not just a battle between two nations, it is shaping the future of global trade as we know it. So, what do you think? Is this economic confrontation a necessary step toward independence? Or is it a dangerous game that could lead to long-term economic hardship? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on the latest developments in global trade, don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis and discussions on the evolving economic landscape.